Okay, so let's start with data frame. What we have covered last week, we have seen the definition of data frame. Okay, so how the data frame looks like, we have seen that. Okay, and we have seen couple of programs, how to write the program in a Spark session and how to see the data, how to see the schema in data frame. That's what we have seen. How to write the data in different in different modes, to be precise, we have seen. Okay, so we were able to read the data and we were able to write the data. While reading also, there were so many options. I introduced you few options. Moving ahead, based on scenarios, options will be coming. In writing also, we had 4 options. I have shown all those options, but the between part, that was the transformations, was not taken care, and that's where today and tomorrow we will be taking. Okay, so the first thing today we will be seeing is, okay, so we'll try to see the filter conditions or filter. Okay, so how to apply the filter conditions. So we have like, okay, so you might be knowing we have a where clause, okay, and we have filter. Okay, so let's start creating programs slowly, and let's see small examples just to understand how the syntax can be written, so that moving ahead, whatever the requirements and assignments are given to us, we should be able to write those syntaxes and achieve the results. Okay, so let's say this is, we are trying to study data frame, and let's say this is where or filter.py. okay, something like this. I'm trying to write my from PySpark .sql. I'm trying to import Spark session. Okay, I'm trying to create a main method of mine, and finally we are trying to create a Spark variable which will act as a driver. Okay, so let me build that as well. So it will require builder method and then few application name, whatever we try to give. Okay, so let's say this is where filter examples, whatever you need to give as per your requirement. So master, so as of now I'm using my local resources. Okay, and finally get a create method. I need to say that. Done. So this is just a builder program which we have created, which will act as a driver. Okay, so if you remember the architecture, that's what we have seen. Okay, so now what we'll try to do is, so this is just a data which I have created, dummy data which I have cooked, okay, for all the programs. Let's see how we can take step by step. If you remember last time, so this was the data which was given to us and we created the schema for this. Can anyone recall how did we created that schema?
Struct type.
Yes, beautiful, Hussein. So I think like Hussein, apart from Hussein, a couple of people are trying to do the assignments. So I would I would appreciate or expect like people, if you want to move ahead and gracefully like move ahead and convert your technology or gain some practical exposure in this technology, so you'll have to do assignment. That's where you'll start seeing the difference in yourself. Okay, so that's how it will come. Okay, so rightly said by Hussein. So what we'll have to do is we'll have to create a schema for it, right? If you remember last week's sessions, how to create data frame, there were like 2-3 methods which we have seen. So we can create data frame using spark.create data frame, where we need to provide the data. Okay, this is the data which will be popped in, and we need a schema, or else if it's the CSV file, we can directly read from that. Even if we are trying to read the CSV file, and if we are trying to impose our own schema, so we can pass that argument schema also. Okay, so we have seen many permutation and combinations in the last week. That's what is there. So that's where we would be taking ahead and building our sessions. Okay, so let me create the schema for this quickly, and then we can just move ahead. Okay, so let's say array schema. Okay, so what we will be doing first, so we will be creating a struct type. Okay, so as if you see, it is not able to recognize, or it is not able to identify, and it's giving an error. So we need to do something. So the thing is, we need to import. So it will be coming from PySpark.sql types. So struct type I will need. Okay, struct field I will need. Then I will need some integer type. Then I will need some string type. Do I have anything? Okay, looks good. So I don't have integer also, so let's remove that also. Okay, so I have only few this. Okay, so let's start building the schema for this. Okay, so inside a list, what we will try to do, so the first column, if you see, okay, so if you remember, we have given a column as a name to it. Okay, so the same thing I'll try to do, but I'll try to give inside a struct field. Okay, so what will be the name of the column? Anything you can give. I'm just trying to give a name. Okay, okay, after that, what will be the type of that column? Okay, so we need to give that. Okay, so but if you see in this name column, like explained in the last session also, as it is like, if you remember, one question was asked, like I think it was Hussein, what was the difference between struct and array? Okay, so again, like you need to understand. So if you see, the question is like same, Hussein, if you see, like here, if you see there are tuples, okay, you can consider them as an array. Okay, so array is like nothing but a list of elements which will have similar types of data. That's what it needs to be precise. But when it comes to array, it can hold many things. Okay, sorry, struct can hold many things, and whereas array, it will be a list of elements of the same type. Again, I have given that assignment, so we'll need to explore that. But as the scenario came, I am just trying to highlight that. Now what I'll try to do, this is like under name, I want this column as a first name, middle name and last name. So what I will try to do over here, I'll try to define this as a struct type. Okay, so this will be my struct type. Again, inside this, I will be having three columns, that is first name, middle name and last name, right? That's what we have seen last time. So struct field, the first column I'm trying to say that is as first name. The type of the data will be like string type. Okay, and finally the nullability. Okay, so as it's like a file system, so it won't make any sense to it. Okay, so it's just a recall of the thing which we have covered last week. So second column and finally my third column. So I just need to change my column name, that is middle name, and the third one would be last name. Okay, so what I have done is I'm done with this. Any questions still here? I hope no questions. Looks good, straightforward, right? Yeah, so let's go building few columns which are required. So I think we are required with this column. Okay, again, like if you see now here also, if you see, it's a list. Okay, earlier what we have seen this as a struct and we have seen only couple of columns, right? But now here one more thing is there that has been added as a list. Let's see how we can write or we can do something for that. Okay, let's try to understand that. Okay, so what I have written, so I'm done with this. Now I need to tackle the schema for this. So I'm trying to write struct field over here. Okay, so let's say these are some courses name or languages name, any column name you can give. Okay, let's say I'm trying to give some languages. Okay, now this is an array. Okay, because it's a list, so that is termed as an array. That's where I just that question highlighted me. Okay, so what I'll try to do is, for the time being, I'll just remove this, and what I'll try to write is, so I'll have to import that as well. So array, no, it's capital array type. Yeah, so here what I'll try to do is array type. Okay, now in this array type we need to provide all the columns which are available for us. Okay, so the first thing is, so I'll just go away straight away, like with the data type I'll try to go, so that is nothing but the string type. Okay, and the nullability, let's say true. Again, like it's your own style of writing. Okay, because now if you see here, I have given column names and here I have not given the column names. Okay, so how you need to define the schema, it depends on that. Okay, so here I'm trying to maybe like under this struct I will be having these columns, but in this will be an array, and under an array there will be an element of struct. I'll show you once the schema is ready by showing the print schema. You'll come to know at that moment of time. Okay, as of now let's cook, and quickly I'll try to do that so that you'll get it. So struct field, okay, so that is done. Now what I'll try to do, so the second last column would be, let's say, can we give as state column name? Yes, the type of it would be, let's say, string type, and finally the nullability. Okay, and the last column would be, let's do copy paste, and finally paste this, and last column would be, let's say, gender. Okay, so this is the schema which I have built for the, let me stop this. Okay, so this is the schema which I have built for the data which I had. Now to create a data frame out of it, what I'll have to do is anything. So let's say I'm trying to raise a my data frame, and I'm trying to use spark dot create data frame. We know this, right? So here we will be passing the two things. One is data and the other is schema, right? So the data is available where? In this. Schema is available where? Just we cooked this. Okay, so that's where we'll just try to copy, or just try to, let's say, data equals to why it is not coming, array, yeah, array data, and then schema, schema equals to array schema. You can skip this also if you don't want to give this. Okay, if you know the, again, as I have cooked, so I know that, so you can directly give this also, but one is given, one is not given, that won't work. Okay, you will have to be consistent. Either you will have to completely remove it or completely give it. That's how you'll have to do. So we have seen both the types in the last week, so I'm just trying to make. Now we'll try to see the my data frame which we have created, how the schema looks like. Okay, and simultaneously we'll try to see the data also for that. So we'll try to use a show, and yeah, so there is some error. So is it not closed properly? So why this is giving error? So this is closed over here. Okay, so this is closed, this is
Sure,
closed, this is,
the indentation is not proper.
yeah, looks that okay. Okay, so let me shift this a little backwards. So indentation for this is not okay. Looks good, thanks Hussein. So that was the issue. Small here there is, like, if we are coming from Scala background, or so or maybe like other background, so in Python, like, what we'll have to understand is, so just a small thing which we'll always have to remember is the indentation. Okay, so that's where the small challenge will come, and by practice it will happen, don't worry. Okay, so now if it is telling some issue is there, okay, so it is telling PySpark.SQL should be instance of PySpark.SQL.data types. Okay, so what we have done, so we have imported the PySpark session, that is fine. Okay, so then we have PySpark.SQL.types, that is also correct, right? Import struct type, array type, looks good to me. And here we are trying to build this, so this looks, what is the error? Data type, so it is telling us PySpark.SQL.type string type. Somewhere we are trying to miss double quotes. Yeah, so if you see, yeah, if you see, so here, like, we are trying to miss something. Okay, so what we need to do is, see, sometimes, as I told, maybe like in the Python first session, okay, maybe sometimes Python and PySpark will prompt you correct errors, or sometime it might not. So you'll have to just read the messages, okay, and try to debug the code. That's where, like, understanding of your code will become good as you keep practicing. Okay, that's where how it comes. Okay, so if you see, it is coming, and let's see how the data is looking to us. Okay, so we are able to see now. If you see, there is, like, this is being truncated, and we know how to see that. Okay, by truncate equals to false. So we have cooked the data, And also like we have now, if you see, this is a name column and it is a struct. I told you how to access these elements. It will be like parent name dot child name. Okay, that's what we have seen in last week. So this we have seen accessing. But now in this languages, if you see, it's a array. Now I have told, but I did not explain. So whenever there is an array, we cannot access the elements directly. Okay, so for that we need to explode the data. That's what we will see moving ahead. There will be a lot of things which will be coming. So now the data is ready. Okay, and everything is ready. So what we can do is, we'll start writing small syntaxes just to understand how we can frame our transformations whenever there is a requirement to achieve something. Okay, so that's where we are trying to read, that's where we are trying to understand filter and a where clause. Okay, now filter with column condition. So we all know, because this is like a very basic things, people coming from SQL background or any other things will be knowing this. So filter and where clause, and also we have seen in RDTs. Okay, so whenever we need to filter the data based on certain conditions on a single column or multiple columns, we can use either of these two. Okay, either we can use where or we can use filter. Okay, so let's try to write some small syntaxes and let's see how we can make a head of use of this. Okay, so let's try to write over here. So let's say the data frame name. Okay, so let's say I'm trying to write a filter. Okay, so the data frame name is my data frame, which I am trying to show. I'm trying to use a filter clause, a filter method. Okay, and what is the schema? So the column names which are being here, these are the column names. Okay, I remember these column names because this is like the schema which has been prepared by me, and day in day out I use for my batches. Okay, but you need to understand the data, understand the schema, so it will come by natural, don't worry. Okay, now also I have shown how to access the columns, or how to write the syntaxes in multiple ways. So okay, either you can write data frame dot whatever the column name you have to write, or you can write use column. If you recall all those things I have shown, right? So mostly I'll be going with this method. Okay, so for this we need to import from pyspark.sql.functions, we need to import column. Okay, and let's come a little down. Yeah, so on which column we need to apply a filter. Okay, so let's say I'm trying to apply a column that is the state. Okay, and let's say what is the state? Data. So let's take for Hyderabad. Okay, so what we will do is equals to, simply we will say HYD, and simply we'll try to say show method. Now if I just do Control C and Control V, if you don't want to write like this, what you can do is you can write like this also, my data frame dot state. If you don't want to use dot call, you can just write state in the double quotes also. Okay, different mechanisms which we have seen. So whatever feels comfortable to you and whatever you are getting accustomed to, use that and start implementing. Okay, let's execute this and let's see the result. So we should be able to see. Okay, so what it is telling, data frame state object has no state. Is it like capital A? Does it expecting a state? Let's execute this because we have that. The first one is giving us the result, but why the second one is not giving the result? Okay, so it is expecting the data to be in appropriate case, and we are getting. So whatever like syntaxes which you are comfortable, you can write it and you can play with those things. Okay, so now what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to apply a filter. Okay, in a similar fashion, so you can apply on multiple columns also with using your logical and or logical or. You can do all those things. Okay, so let me comment this out. Okay, so let's quickly write on multiple columns. So let's say I'm trying to write the data frame, that is my data frame. I can simply write a filter clause. Okay, on whatever column you need to apply. Okay, so let's say the call name is, we were trying to write state. Okay, and here we were trying to say equals to, let's say, Hyderabad, and here we can just write a or clause or and clause based on the given conditions. Okay, so let's say I want to have the data from, let's say, the state from Hyderabad. Okay, and also let's say the gender as a female as well. Okay, so we'll give that also, both the conditions we'll try to give, and we'll try to take both the data. So let's say I'm trying to apply a call. Okay, and what is the column? The call name is nothing but my gender, and simply what you'll have to do is, let's say either it's a male or female data which you need to see. You can apply on multiple conditions also. Let's execute this and let's see. So it is giving some highlighted, so I think it needs to be enclosed in parentheses. Yeah, so if you see, lots of issues, so understand the errors. So now there is an issue, so see, when you are writing the code, you should identify, and that will come by practice. So you write the code and you understand something is not behaving. So if you see here, this ampersand was getting highlighted, so that's where I said, like, I just need to give something in like parenthesis or something. Okay, so this is like let's close this, and let's close this, and also let's close this, and let's close this. Okay, now if you see that highlighted stuff is gone, and hopefully this should work clean. So that's where, like, you need to work on the assignments. Until unless you won't work on the assignments, you will not get the issues or the challenges while writing the code. That's where the practice will start, from the basic thing, because moving ahead we'll be going lot in deeper, slowly and steadily. So if you start at that moment of time, it will give you a trouble. So as it is a start, you can just recall your, maybe like you can tighten your belt and quickly you can start also. Okay. Okay, so we are able to understand how we can write the syntaxes using or. See, I'm not showing everything, but I'm just showing whatever is required, and we are good enough to play with it. Okay, so I've just shown one logical operator. You can use the other two logical operators like not and or also. Okay, in place of that. Okay, so we are able to write a condition on a single column, on a multiple column. Okay, that's good. So that is done. Now let's take an example. What if, like, I want to see the data of my, so this is the languages column. Okay, we know, like earlier, this had a struct data and this had a languages as an array. What if we want to see the data from that? Okay, so if you want to filter the data on your array type, okay, so there is like one method which is array underscore contains. We'll have to use that. Okay, so if your data frame consists of nested struct, that's nested struct columns, or maybe like element, at that moment of time you'll have to use. So let's see how we can do. I think I have shown on struct, right? So first let's see on filter, on array. So let me show quickly on array. Okay, so the data frame name is nothing, is my data frame. I'm trying to apply a filter. Okay, that is a method on top of my data frame. So I know this is an array. We have seen the print schema a little earlier. So what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to write array underscore contains. It's not popping up, so I think it is coming from my array underscore contains. Okay, so let me just, these are some syntax issues it is giving. Okay, let's come a little down. So now we'll try to write that. So array, so now if you see, it is trying to give a suggestion and from where it is coming. Okay, so let's use that array underscore contains. Okay, so now what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to use array underscore contains. This is the one of the function on which column, or let's say what you need to find. So let's say my column, sorry, where it came. Okay, let me go inside this. So let's say my column name is uh, the column name was languages, right? Okay, so we'll try to say languages. So what I'm trying to say, my column name is languages. From that, okay, so I think from that, this will come inside. Let's see. So from that, wherever like Java is coming, do we have the data for that Java? What are the column names? Languages name: English, Math, Science, right? So let's give maths. Okay, wherever I'm able to get this, let me have the data for that. Let's execute this, or else like math should come out. There is one like, okay. See, here it is clearly telling you. So array underscore call. Okay, it takes one positional argument, but two were given. Okay, so simply what we will do is we will just remove this for the time being, and we'll just make it over here. Okay, let's execute this. Okay, so what we can do is we can just say truncate equals to false, and let's re-execute this. Okay, so that we'll not truncate the data for the data frame which we are seeing in the console as an output, so that the entire data would be viewable to my eyes. Okay, that's what I'm trying to write. Okay, so if you see wherever the like it had mats in this array, I'm trying to access that. Okay, so moving ahead, like if you want to access the data from your element or from your struct, you should be able to catch that, or you should be able to do that. I hope like you know how to access the data from struct parent.childname, right? So I'm not showing that. Are we good in that? So any questions on filter?
No, sir.
No?
No, sir.
Okay, so it's, see, most of the things you would be knowing this. It's the only thing is I'm just trying to show you the flavor, how to write the syntaxes in PySpark. That's where like we are trying to learn something. Okay, so that's where like you would be just seeing the flavor of your existing sequence stuff and how that is being implemented in PySpark. Okay, that's what we are trying to see. Okay, so if we are able to do this, done. So now we'll try to understand. Okay, so in like we have like if there is a requirement, if there is a scenario comes, okay, so we need to sort the data, we need to order the data, or we need to group by the data. Again, we have some methods and functions which are given. Let's try to understand those things again. Okay, so I'll try to create one more program application to be precise. Okay, so let's say this is data frame for order by, let's say sort and group by. Quickly what I'll try to do is, so I'll just try to copy this, copy and paste, because it will save some time. But again, like now we need to know how to write this. So this is, let's see if it is required, we'll try to add that whenever this becomes. And these are the examples of, let's say, my order by, then sort, and finally my group by. Okay, cool. I have the data created, so I'll be using that data. So this is for ordering the data I have you created. Let me use that data for ordering.
Sir, one basic question.
Yes, Saurabh.
Where does this, not related to data frame, but just related to the program, where does this app name actually used?
Application name, see, what happens is in the projects, like there are multiple jobs running, right? So you, if a certain failure comes, so let's say in my project, okay, there are 143 jobs runs daily.
Okay.
So if some failure comes, how will I identify that? Okay, there is a job name given to it, but again in that job name, let's say what is the app individual or granular level, if I go a little down, what is the application which I am trying to get an error? So there it will help us, the
So,
application name.
so this would be like there will be no unique ID, correct? Suppose if several applications
Yes,
are
yes, yes. So if you see in your means like in my project, like we are trying to do the data ingestion, so we try to give the application name as data ingestion. Then afterwards we'll try to do incremental aggregation. Then we try to do CDC, chain data capture. Then we try to do SCD1, SCD2, and finally like data unloading. So we try to give the application name according to that. Whatever code you are trying to write over
Mhm.
here, so that application name should be belonging to, or it should be describing about your code, to be precise.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, cool. Now if you see here, I have a data. Okay, so now see, I will be showing so many methods. Don't get confused, like here I'm trying to create struct method, there I'm not trying to create. Again, like it's your call how you do. Okay, now if you see, these are like straight away my column names. Okay, so now what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to define my columns equals to, okay, whatever the column names are available over here, I'll try to define the column name. So let's say the first one is, let's say, employee name. Okay, the second column name is, let's say, sales. Okay, so sales, let's say, falls under some department. Okay, after that, let's say there are some Hyderabad, so all these will be coming, let's say these are like state. Then 90,000 something is related to salary, so I would say, let's say it's a salary. After that, 34 is familiar to age, so let me say that as an age. After that, again I can see some amount, so let me give that as a, let's say, bonus. Okay, anything, it's your who you are writing the program, but here we are cooking the data. Okay, mostly like moving ahead we will be trying all this thing because I have lots of data sets which is available, but as of now I'm trying to show on the cooked data. Moving ahead, we'll try to read from the files also. It is nowhere different. It will be different. Okay. So when you are trying to cook the data, so it's in your hands. Again, like when you are trying to read the data from CSV files, XML, nested JSONs, or whatever the like Parquet files are there, so there the schemas will be there, or you will have to build. So that's where the column names, as per the requirement, you'll have to build. Okay. So, okay. So let's create one more my data frame as usual. So what I'll do, Spark dot create data frame, it needs two things. So let's say I'm trying to give my data and I'm trying to give my schema, that is nothing but my column names. Quickly let's test whether this is working or not. So I'll just do, always I just test whenever I try to create my schema. So I'll just try to see the data is getting printed or not and my schema is getting printed or not. Then only I start move ahead writing in the code in like project also, because that's where like it gives us. Otherwise if you're writing the code and at the first place only it's not working, and then if you're writing, debugging becomes a little troublesome. So that's where you need to erase. So piece by piece, try to write a small code, test it, move ahead, test it, move ahead. That's how like lengthy applications are being created. Okay, okay. So we are able to get the data in a structured 2D format, that is nothing but the columns, sorry, that is nothing but the columns and the data, that is columns and rows. Okay, cool. So we are able to get that, so no issues. Now we'll try to do small things which you already know. Okay, so if we need to sort the data, we can use either a order by column, order by, or we can use sort also. Let's try to do that. So let's say sort. Okay, now let's say the data frame is named my data frame and I'm trying to use sort. As I told you a little while earlier, you can use as per your requirement. Okay, so I'm trying to import this, so let me just trying to do quick copy paste just to save a time, because again it's, we have already written this, so again a small amount of time if I save, it will help me moving ahead a little quicker. That's why I'm trying to do copy paste. Otherwise in the first program we have written right from the scratch. Okay, now why I did this, because when I'm trying to when I'm trying to sort the data, I need to sort on a particular column. Okay, so what are the column names? Let me quickly see that. So employee name, department stream. Okay, so what we'll do is, let's say any of the column name, so we'll try to sort the data. Okay, let's say on department column. What I'm trying to do, I'm trying to sort the data on my department column, and quickly we'll say show, let's say truncate equals to false. This is like we are trying to sort on a single column. Okay, if you want to sort, let's say on multiple columns, same way like how we did filter at the earlier level. You can do here also. Okay, so you can add multiple columns based on your requirement. Okay, so let's say, let's close this and let's close this. No, this is, yeah, this will get closed away. Okay, so the second column you can pick randomly from anything. So let me pick like this as state. Okay, so the output of this, it will be based on a single column. The output of the second column will be on multiple columns. Same way like in your SQL, how it behaves. If you're trying to do sorting on a single column, no issues. But if you're trying to do sorting on multiple columns, what it will do, first it will try to sort the data on first column. Okay, so what we will do, single column, you all know it will be straightforward. Now we are trying to sort on these two columns. So what it will do, first it will try to sort the data based on this column. So it has found out the group of finance as a sorting. If in that, if there are multiple occurrences of my second column which needs to have an ordering, then it will go onto the second column. That's how your sequential ordering happens in your SQL. In a similar fashion, PySpark also follows the same sequential ordering stuff in the sort or order methods. Okay, so you can do those things. So the above two example returns the same. So, okay, so the first one is taking the data frame API as a string. Okay, so both here I have taken the columns method. I have not taken the data frame APIs method. Like if you remember, like my data frame dot, and let's say I want to sort on, let's say, state. So that is called a data frame API way. Okay, but I'm trying to use the take the columns, which I am used to it, because in projects I am used to write it, means I'm used to writing the code like this. Okay, so in a similar fashion, what we can do is we can apply a order by clause also. Okay, so I'm leaving that order by clause to you. Okay, or if it, or let's say how we can sort the data in ascend. By default it's in ascending. Okay, let's say I need to sort the data based on descending order. Okay, how will I write the syntaxes in sort or in order by? So by default it is ascending. That is pretty easy and straightforward. So let's say sort and order by, let's say, in descending. We'll try to write that. Okay, how we can do that ascending descending keyword, it's your call. So what was the data frame name? So the data frame name was my data frame. Okay, I'm trying to use a sort over here. Okay, let's try to use a single column. So let's say the call keyword, and let's say the column which we are trying to sort is, let's say, department for the time being. Okay, now here you will have to specify whether we are trying to do the data either in ascending or descending sorting. So what you'll have to do, you'll have to spread it. By default it is ascending, so no need to say that. If you want to do descending, so you just need to specify that. That's it, nothing else. There is not much difference or nothing is in there. So it just like by default it ascending. When it comes to descending, you just need to explicitly write that. Okay, so let me copy this, let me paste this, and I have not shown, so maybe like we can quickly cover order by also. So both the places, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to use my descending as a keyword, which means like based on my department column I need to sort the data in descending order with two different methods which are being given to me by sort and order by. Okay, so there is some issue. So see, whenever the error comes, don't get panic, you need to just read the logs. Okay, sometimes what happens, you just need to scroll over here. Sometimes for the first, always go on the top. There will be so many logs. As of now it's very little over here. Okay, but always go on the top and start reading from the top. That's how I read my logs, and that's what it is suggested. Okay, from the starting you will come to know slowly, and some places it will give you some analysis exception error or some OM error, whatever. So as of now it is saying me cannot resolve department in the giving input columns. The column name is this, but I am trying to use the column name as that. Okay, so that's how you'll have to understand your errors. You'll have to mitigate those errors. It means like change those errors and then test it and work ahead. Okay, so let's get this executed.
Sir, instead of a direct column name, can't we use some variables which hold these values and use them?
Yeah, you
Because
can do that also. Store some, like, let's say in data frame. So now see, this is a data frame, right? So
yes.
let's say from this you find out, like, let's say a single column, store it in some variable and pass it over here. You can reference that also. No
So
issues.
that is doable, correct?
Doable, not an issue. Doable. Okay. So if you see, it's a simple sorting, ordering. Okay, nothing is there. Let's evaluate the data because we have not evaluated the data so far. Okay, so the department. So if you see A B C D F, yeah. If you see, like, it's like S, then it's in M, then it's in F. Okay, so straightforward, we are able to see the output. Okay, so sorting in, ordering by, filter, it was like straightforward. Then when it comes to scenarios, like when you will have to do some grouping on some columns, that's where, like, you'll get a little challenges, because scenarios will come, you'll have to group and do aggregation on multiple columns. That's where you will face some syntax challenges. Okay, so that's where I'll try to mitigate small things over here, so that moving ahead you won't face those issues. So group by is similar to your SQL group by. Okay, so PySpark group by, what it does is it is used to collect the identical data into the groups from your data frame. Okay, and we know, like, what are the aggregate functions are available, like sum, min, max, average. Same things are provided here also. We can use the same thing. Okay, let's see how we can use. Okay, so what we'll do is, so the data frame name is my data frame. Okay, so I'll try to use group by. On which column I need to apply a group by, because I have the data which is available on department. You can take on salary also, you can take on state also, it's your choice. But as I see, my columns are like repeating on my department. That's how I prepared my data, so I'm trying to take that column multiple times. Okay, so let's say I want to find out my sum of salary. So let's say I'm trying to write a sum of salary, and simply what I'll try to say, show. Again,
So
like,
that column name is SAL.
yeah. Okay, so let's say here, let's say if you want to store in some, let's say my cell, you can do like that also. As of now, what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to use the same data frame. And yeah, let me correct this first, as suggested by Saurabh. And what you can do is my cell dot show and my cell dot print schema straight away, like you can do that also. Okay, and here it will throw us an error, hopefully, because we have not imported the aggregate functions. Okay, so it worked. It not imported sum, min, max. Okay, okay, no issues. So if you see, for each group I'm trying to find out my sum of salary. Okay, so we can do that on a single column. Similarly, if we want to do on multiple columns, we can do that on multiple columns also. Okay, so before that, let me show you like one more thing. So let me comment this out for the time being. Okay, so let's say the data frame name is my data frame. Okay, so I'm trying to apply a group by. Okay, on which column will, as of now, using the same column, that is nothing but my department. Okay, now here, let's say I don't want this name, I want some other name as per like user defined, some alias name which I need to give. At that moment of time, you will not be able to use it over here, or you will not be able to do aliasing over here. For that, what you'll have to do is you'll have to use aggregate. Okay, let me show you, and let me like write it and show you. So here I'm trying to write an aggregate. Okay, in this aggregate, what I'm trying to do now, I'm trying to do sum of what, on which column. So let's say sum of salary for the time being. Okay, I'm trying to apply sum of salary. Okay, and here what I'll try to give is, I'll try to say alias, and let's say this is some salary, let's say full form. Okay, maybe like in things, and let's do the show. Okay, so this is call is getting So sum of salary is getting closed over here, alias is getting closed over here, this is getting closed, and finally that is getting closed. Let's execute this piece. Because what will happen is, when you are trying to, maybe like in huge requirement, what happens is we get the data in maybe any file formats like JSON, nested JSON, and XML, and based on that we try to transform the data, and after applying the transformation we need to write the data in particular columns and in a particular way. At that moment of time, this aliasing will help you. Okay, so we are getting some issue. So what we are trying to get an error is, it is telling some unsupported operand types. This error we have seen in Python, remember? So here we have not handled the exceptions also. So we need to, moving ahead, as of this is very introductory sessions, that's why I'm not showing all the things. Maybe in my next Saturday I'll try to show you parameterization way, where we'll be writing functions in one program, we'll be writing parameters in one program, and in this program we will be calling all those functions, parameters. That's how the code looks like in real time. Okay, as of now it's just introductory, so that's why I'm just trying to show in a single program, but next Saturday we'll see that programmatically. Okay, now come over, and in that also, like, we'll start handling the exceptions also. Okay, now let's come to the error which we are trying to face. Okay, it is telling me that operand types for integer and string. Okay, something is like wishy, so let's some columns. So let's say I'm trying to do a group by. Okay, so that is nothing but, I think this is, I need to close this over here and I need to remove this from here. Okay, let's re-execute this. Then don't worry, see, okay, again it is coming. So this is the column I'm trying to do grouping. Okay, then aggregation I'm trying to do, I'm applying to sum of salary, that is okay. Then I'm trying to do alias on that column, that also looks good to me. Let me quickly copy this and paste this over here, and let's, is it that call is not taking, let me take dpt column over here, and let's re-execute this for the time being, because the syntax looks good to me. What is the issue? Okay, so unsupported operand data types. The issue is that only earlier it was not able to recognize this, and SQL.functions, that is what the issue was like. Okay, even that is not the case. From PySpark.SQL.functions import, let's scroll a little to the top. So we have imported some, we imported the aggregate. Okay, so it is telling, so this is my column which is having a department, but here I'm trying to do sum of salary on integer. Okay, and it is telling this and this is not able to integrate, so that's what it is complaining us. Syntax looks good to me. Let me just see what it is telling is aggregates, built-in aggregations such as max. Let me write the code again. Let's say my data frame dot group by, okay, and the column name is dpt for the time being, and I'm trying to apply a aggregate sum of, column name is nothing but salary. I'm trying to alias that as, let's say, sum of salary, and finally I'm trying to show what is the issue. There is no error inside it. Cannot import name from PySpark. It's in, see,
Sir, do we have to use select before show?
not required actually, Hussein, because it's a straight away.
Need to change data type of file. type because if you are forming it, it might be string. Convert it to integer and then
I know this is yeah, I am able to means I am able to gear up that only, but somewhere like actually now I face this. But even
so
after doing this,
so
after
do you need to import some function?
I am because that's where like I am trying to get inner
Only
thing like
some,
no
only some, because for aggregate it is throwing error, correct?
earlier. That's what I was not sure. Sometimes this environment issue will trouble us. Okay, that's what I am trying to correlate. But let's see because I'm able to relate one Kafka problem which we always face. Okay, yeah, so it's working. I don't know like earlier in method like how without sum that I did not imported that and the earlier one worked. That's why I was a little surprised at that moment of time. Okay, no issues. Let's come back. Okay, so whenever like if you whenever as I was telling, so there will be some scenarios like you will be reading some hefty CSV files or XML files or JSON files. At that moment of time, based on the requirement, you will be transforming the data, and the final output maybe you are trying to dump on a database, maybe Teradata or Oracle, or maybe a downstream could be a SAP system. Okay, so you'll have to define the column names based on that definition because they would be absorbing that. Okay, so that's how like we try to define the aliasing, and that's where it will help you. Okay, so it's a very straightforward. So I'll not deep dive into like count, sum, min, max, average because they are like very straightforward and you should be able to do those things. Okay, let's try to understand how we can write on multiple columns. Okay, we are able to write it on a single column. Let's try to understand how we can write on multiple columns. That's what we'll try to understand. Okay, so we sorry, we can run group by and aggregate, okay, on two or more data frame columns. How? The data frame name is my data frame. We'll apply a group by. Okay, and here let's say I'm trying to apply the first column name is department, the second column name is, let's say, the second column name is nothing but my state. Okay, so and here I'm trying to apply, let's say, see this is a line breaker. If you don't want, you can just write in straightforward over here also. Okay, so let's say I'm trying to write sum of salary okay, it has only one column, and let's say I want to trying to do bonus. So what I'm trying to do is, these are the grouping columns. The grouping columns are on two columns. Okay, but the aggregation are the two different other columns. Okay, again based on the requirement, you can play with all your stuff, and that's how it will go. Let's get this done. So okay, so here I'm trying to make a group of that is department and state, and based on that, okay, so I'm trying to find out my sum of salary and sum of bonus. Again, like if I want to alias, okay, I will not be able to do with these things. Okay, so you'll have to use aggregate on each individual columns, and you'll have to apply a aliasing columns. You'll have to do that. Okay, let's quickly do that on multiple columns and see that also, because syntax issues you should not get. Okay, and here what I will try to do after doing that, if you remember like what we do in like sequels, what we do is we apply group bys on multiple columns, then we derive some values on groups, and then we apply some filter clauses, and then we apply some having clauses on top of that. Okay, so here also you can apply those things also. Okay, so where clause you can apply. Okay, so same thing it will give you. So simply what I'll try to do is running aggregate. So I'll try to show, I'll combine both the things in one go. Okay, so what I'll try to do, I'll try to find out like sum of salary, average, min, max, and I'll try to do some filtering clause. Okay, let's do both the things. So let's say where and grouping. Okay, so the data frame name is nothing but my data frame, and I'm trying to apply a group by. Okay, the column name is nothing but dpt. Okay, if you want to use, and see again like this is one of the method which you want to use, or else like if you want to write call, you can write call also. Okay, no harm and nothing. Now as I want to alias it, okay, so what I'll try to do, so I'll try to use my aggregate. Okay, so let's say dot aggregate. In this I will try to define all my whatever requirement is there. So let's say the first one, what I need to find out is let's say sum of salary. Okay, what I have to find out, I have to find out the sum of salary, and let me give this as a alias. So let's say alias, and let's say this is sum salary. Okay, so this is like one column. So let me copy this as is, and let me write on multiple columns. So paste this. Okay, so what is this getting copied? Control C. Okay, and let's bring it on new line so that it will look a little cleaner. So let's say here I'm trying to find sum of salary. Okay, in a similar fashion you can find out like average. We have all the necessary aggregate functions like how we have in SQLs. Okay, sum, min, max, all those things are available here also. Let's write all those things and just change this as per your requirement. So let's say this is average, and let's say this is min, and let's say this is my max. Okay, so this is like, okay, we are done with this. Earlier also I have shown this on a single column, but here the thing is I'm showing on multiple columns. Cool. So that is the first thing which we had done with. But what if, let's say, let's take this a little up. Now what I need to do is I need to, let's say I need to filter some data. Okay, so let's say sum of salary. Okay, so we are trying to find sum of salary. Maybe like we'll try to take greater than something. Okay, so let's say sum of salary I will take. Here what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to apply a where clause. You can apply a filter clause also. It's nothing that you cannot apply. So call. So what is the column name? Let's say sum of salary. So let's say if the sum of salary is greater than or equals to, let's say 50,000, I want to get my data. And finally what I'll try to do, show.
Seth, will it be having clause or because we are applying a filter on aggregated
So
column?
here, sorry, here will not be having that. We'll be using where clauses.
Okay.
Okay, so it is telling me that average is not defined because we need to import all this quickly. So average, min, max. Okay, let's re-execute this. Now hopefully you should be able to get a little flavor like how we need to write the transformations on my data frames. Okay, and you will be getting a little glimpse, and you might be, as this is a very initial start, but still you will be feeling a lot more comfortable as compared to your RDDs. Here you don't have to use that x of 0, x of 1 and all those low level APIs. Okay, directly like here you are trying to reference the column names and you are trying to write more more accustomed way where you are trying to write the code. Maybe if you are coming from ETL backgrounds or database background, the code is similar. The code is like looking similar to that. So that's where your coding becomes very easy when you write the code in your data frame way. Okay, because moving ahead there will be, as of now these are very small programs. Okay, based on the scenario the program's length will grow. At that moment of time there you won't face complexity to identify what is this, because let's say what if in a single file you are receiving, let's say 258 columns or let's say 170 columns. At that moment of time which column to refer, what needs to be written, it becomes a little challenging in RDD. That's where it is that says that writing the codes in RDD was a little complex and a little tricky. But when it comes to data frames, life becomes easier. Okay? Any questions still here?
No.
Okay, so I hope like we are getting the things and you are able to understand this. So do we need a quick break or should I continue?
Maybe a break of 10 minutes.
Now we'll try to understand with column. Okay, now this is very important. Again, like all are important only, but let's understand what is with column. Okay, as the name itself suggests, with column, so we need to take one column and we need to do something with that column. Okay, let's understand. So with column is a transformation function. It says with column is a transformation function, okay, which is used to change, update, change or update value, okay, convert the type of data from one form to other. You can do all those things also, from one form to other. Okay, you can add the column. Okay, and what else you can do? That's what, add or create the column. So all these things are possible, so with your with column. Okay, so with column gives you a very helping hand when you try to write your codes. So that's where we'll try to see here also. Okay, so let's do that. So let's say we are trying to see with column and with column renamed after, means I'll show that also in this one. Okay, so two things I'll show, and quickly what we will try to do is I'll take this, okay, because as I told earlier, just to save us some time. Okay, let's minimize this. Now what we are trying to do is we are trying to understand how we can write with column and how we can write with column renamed. It gave me a small definition, that is like I can change or update value, convert the type and add the data. Okay, so but how I can do that? Let's understand that. Okay, so let's change this application name also. So this is nothing but with column and with column renamed. Okay, cool. So let's start creating the data. So data is also ready with me. Okay, few data is there with column and with column renamed. Let's pick this dummy data which has been cooked. Okay, so the data is available. Once the data is available, okay, I need to create some schema on top of that. You can apply a struct type. Okay, or else if you want to go a little shortcut way, so this is the way like you will have to go. Okay, so we'll try to take this as first name. Okay, then we'll try to take this blank as middle name, then we'll try to take last name, then we'll try to take this as, let's say, date of birth, gender and salary. These are the column names which we'll try to take. Okay, so F name, middle name, then we'll try to take last name, then we'll try to take date of birth, then we'll try to take gender, and finally we'll try to take salary. Okay, and how we'll create a data frame, as we are now very well accustomed to it. So we just pass the data in the schema and the data should be ready for us. So quickly just preview the data so that we'll get a gist. Okay, so whatever like stuff we have written is clean and good, and then we'll try to write some syntaxes using with column renamed. Okay, we are able to see the data. Okay, so there are few columns. Okay, and now we'll try to understand how we can write small things using with columns. Okay, and hopefully this will give you a little learning. So let's remove this. First thing we'll try to see is, let's try to understand. For that we'll have to print the schema also. Will not, means like you know how the schema looks like. As of now I'll not execute this, but next time when I'll try to change the type, we'll see the comparison between the two schemas. Okay, cool. Now what we'll try to do is, here let's say we'll change the column data type. As itself suggested, we can do these things. Let's do that. Okay, so how we can change the type of the data? So what we'll have to do is, let's say if you want to create a new column name, new data frame name, you can create. So let's say change what type. Okay, equals to, what is the data frame name I'm using, which I have created? That is nothing but my data frame. And what I'm trying to apply, with column. Now in this with column, okay, so the column name which we are trying to do is, that is nothing but your salary. Okay, and in this salary, so is changeable and the second name is, let's, okay, so let's write it and I'll explain you once after the syntax. So what I'm trying to do is, let's say I'm trying to write call sal over here, and finally I'm trying to cast it. Okay, before that what we can do is quickly we'll execute this and we will see what is the earlier column is looking like, or earlier column type. It should be like string, but let's reconfirm that before writing the syntax. Okay, so we are just printing the schema. Okay, so it is giving us as the long. Okay, now what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to change the type of this to integer. So I'm trying to do typecasting. Okay, so let's say integer, and finally what I'll try to do, change type dot print schema. So we'll just do the print schema. So first print schema will have long, the second print schema will have a type as integer. Okay, so let's do that. Okay, so if we see the difference over here, so the first type is like the column name is salary and the type of this is this. Okay, and the salary is year over is integer. Okay, so we can change the type of the data. Okay, also if there is a requirement, we need to update the column value, we can do that also. Okay, we remember like data frames and RDDs are immutable in nature. Okay, that's why what we do is we create another RDD from the existing, another data frame from the existing data frame, and we apply some transformations and change the data. Okay, so don't get confused, like when I'm trying to say update the data, it means like existing RDD or data frame is getting updated. No, as they are immutable in nature. Okay, so let's say update value. Now, so PySpark uses with column, okay, to change the value of the existing data. So we need to pass the existing column, okay, as the first argument, okay, and the second argument whatever we need to change. That's what I was trying to do over here. So let's say change salary. I'm trying to change some salary. What is the data frame name? My data frame. I'll try to apply a with column, okay, and here, so the first column name is nothing but my salary, and here the changing thing. So let's say I'm trying to use call on my salary, and let's say in this I'm trying to multiply that by, let's say, 100 or 10, or let's say 100, whatever value could be, nothing, there is no difference. And what I'm trying to say, please show the data to me. Now I'm interested in seeing the data. Okay, because for me the schema is not important because we have already verified that. Now I'm trying to change some data inside my data frame. Okay, let's see how that reflects. Okay, so the earlier one I have not commented. Okay, for that we'll have to look at the data also. So if you see here, we have 3000, we have 4000, we have whatever. So we are getting that in the existing data frame. Let's say if you want a new column, so let's say what we can do is we can just new cell. So what will happen is this will create a new column with the name of new salary, apply the changes, and there will be two columns of your salary, one with the previous data and one with the change data. Okay, based on that, if you want to drop or if you want to keep on whatever, you can do that. Okay, again, like how you write the code and how you play with it. So if you see, this is the old data and this is the transform data. So let's say if I want to drop this, so I can write dot drop, and this column will get dropped, and alias this as per your requirement. Or else in the earlier syntax, what I did is on the same column, what I did is I applied the changes and I returned to the same column. You can do that also. Okay, so using with column, you can change the type. Okay, you can update the value or change the value, create the new column. That's what we have seen. We can add the new column or create the new column or overwrite the existing column values also. Okay, let's show one more example. Here I have done by like adding a new column, but again let's take one more example of literal, which we may be seeing tomorrow in functions, because there will be like windowing functions, string functions, date functions. So tomorrow we'll see that, but let's see a small games. Let's say I'm trying to add a new column. I can do that also. Okay, so how I can do that? Let's say I'm trying to add, let's say, state, or let's say country. country data frame equals to, what is my data frame name? My data frame, let's comment this out, I don't want to see the data for that. Okay, so what I'll try to do is I'll try to apply a with column. Okay, so what will be the new column name is, let's say country. Okay, this is the column name, and here what I want to apply, so I am trying to use my literal. Okay, and let's say that literal is nothing but India. Okay, and quickly let me just, I think that is not needed. Okay, now we'll say that country df dot quickly, let's execute this and see the output of this. So what we are trying to do is over here, so we are trying to add a new column, and all the rows data we are trying to update with some literal that is nothing but India. Okay, so that's what we are trying to do over here. Okay, based on scenarios, okay, we can update the data, add the column, change. You can also use your case statements, when statements, maybe like, hopefully if we get time today we'll try to see, or else that will go tomorrow. Okay, so any questions on using with column, maybe like how we can do that?
Sir,
Yeah,
how can we use a switch case statement? Suppose I want to add a column which like in this example.
we'll be seeing tomorrow, so that will give us the like case when flexibility.
Okay, okay.
So case when we will be seeing tomorrow, I don't know, means like if time permits we'll see today, if not we'll see tomorrow, but your question will come there. Okay,
Okay.
as of now I'll keep in parking. Any questions? Yes, no? No questions?
No, sir.
Okay, so let's move on. Okay, so as I saw, like I can add, I can update, and I can like change the values of the type. Okay, now let's say if there are some scenarios, let's say if I want to change some column names, I can do that also. Okay, that helps like changing call names. Okay, so as the name as suggests, with column rename, I can change my column names also. Okay, so see, what if like I want to add multiple values, I can do multiple columns to be precise, sorry. So I'll have to write multiple with columns. Okay, so that's how like you'll have to do, because that question should raise in your mind. Okay, here I'm trying to add a single column, what if I want to add multiple columns? You'll have to write multiple with columns. Okay, let's come back. Okay, so let's say I want to rename some column, or let's do that. So let's say my data frame. Okay, so what I'll use with column renamed. Okay, now when it comes to with column renamed, okay, so you cannot rename a column using with column, only the with column. Okay, still renaming is possible with column renamed function. Okay, so here what I'm trying to do is, okay, so let's say we'll try to change this, let's say dob. Okay, so here if you see, it is telling me what is the existing column name and what is my new column name. Okay, so let's say my existing column name is dob, and let's say my new column name is, let's say, date of birth. Okay, and let's quickly do a show on top of that. And what we will do is, in the same thing, what I will do, see, this is the new column which has been added, won't be available because we are not referencing that data frame. And what we will do is, we will drop this middle name also. So what we will do, we will say drop. Okay, so the column, so m name, and let's re-execute this. So I'll show in one thing only.
Is there any defined order for these using these
No, there is
methods?
no defined order that you'll have to use that. But again, you'll have to see if you're trying to rename that. So moving ahead, whatever the chaining transformations you are using, so you should reference this new name, not the old name. You will get the error. If you're dropping it, and again, right, if you're writing more transformation ahead of this, so you should not refer this column name. Otherwise, again, you will get an error. That's where, as a developer, you'll have to keep an eye.
Okay.
Okay. So if you see, we have renamed this column. Again, you can rename multiple column also. So, and we have dropped one column. Okay, so these are like small transformations which will help you. Okay, when it comes to the scenario, like, see, the assignments will be given at that moment of time. I could have given the assignments directly also, and you could have, what you could have done is you have googled it and you would have got the syntaxes. So here we are trying to invest 2 days so that you get understood of these basic things, and then once the assignments given is, you can just think, okay, which transformation function should I need to use to achieve this out as an output. Okay, so that's where the emphasis is there on today's and tomorrow's class. Okay, it might be looking basics, but again, for few people it would be like, okay, good to know knowledge. Okay, so with column renamed, and how you can drop single column, how you can drop multiple columns, you will have to play with it, nothing else. It's just like play and you will get it. Okay, any questions till here? I hope like we are getting things.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Okay, so
Yes,
I'm
sir.
just thinking of struct type. So do I show that struct type also? Because struct type again, so you'll have to. I hope like we are comfortable with struct type, right? Are we able to understand struct type? What is struct type? So if we are defining the schema for struct type, so like if you remember in the first scenario we have done that. So let's scroll a little down. I hope like you are good with this syntaxes now.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
yeah, so I think like struct type and moving ahead, explode will come. As of now I just don't struct an array, so I'm just trying to recall what else like so needs to be done. Then we have like union and union all. Okay, so how does union and union all goes? So again, like it is the same thing, like the only thing is in union has been deprecated, that's what I recall. Okay, let's see that. I think we have the with column renamed, with column is done. Yeah, so we have
Sorry.
some. Yeah, sure, Hassan.
Just a question, like from best practices perspective, like when we are defining a data frame, is it necessary that we need to define the schema, or it depends upon the use case what we are dealing with?
Yeah, so it will depend on the use cases, because mostly what we will be doing is, see, if it's like the schemas are like constant. Okay, as we know, like this is a file and it will be having on a daily basis, we got a confirmation this will be having 73 columns. Okay, so I know the schema of these columns, so all this will be in a sequential order, so predefined. So what I can do is straight away I can define the schema for that, and that will be reused day and day and day. But what if like the schemas are getting changed? At that moment of time your file formats will also change. So at that moment of time you'll have to think, okay, so this will not serve me the purpose. What if like today I'm getting 5 columns, what if tomorrow I get 7 columns, and what if I'm getting those 7 columns from the yesterday's 5 columns, again 2 column names got changed. So that is a 2 modified columns and 2 new addition columns. At that moment of time this struct type won't help you, right? So that time you'll have to define some extra logic to merge the schema. Okay, so it goes from practice to practice and scenarios to scenarios. But if you see, mostly in projects you will be getting the, because the schemas are like the files which we are trying to derive are mostly like constant. That's what we have, that's what we have seen, right?
Yep. Yep.
Okay,
Thanks.
yeah, no issues. Okay, so let's quickly understand then union and union all. Okay, so it goes with the same flavor how we have seen. So let's see that also quickly. So data frame, union, both here it behaves the same way. Let's see that with a small example and hopefully we'll come to know. So let me quickly copy and let me quickly paste this code, and let's me remove this. Okay, so here I'm just trying to write union and union. Now there should be one question from your side, like Saif, like how do you know all these things, or if I don't know, where do I reference this, right? So always you need to go to your documentation, okay? So Spark, let's say 3.0.1 version I'm trying to use, okay? So documentation. So when you go to your documentation, whatever it's like version, okay? So in the programming guides, okay, so you have like, if you want to get information about RDDs, go into this. If you want to get information about data frames, go into this. If you want to get information about your structured streaming, go into this, and so on. Okay? So this is how, which API you are trying to use. We are trying to use Python API. Okay, remember this diagram we have seen, Spark core, all those things, same thing. So here also it has the same thing. So whenever you are, let's say, again, Google is the nearest thing which we go, but the best area to go is like Spark documentation. If you are unable to recall stuff, if you are unable to get anything over here, just go over here and just type, and you should be able to get everything over here. Okay, understand what they are trying to say, understand the definition, and they have given the examples also. Here things like what I have used in my day-to-day and whatever I'm used to it in my training environment, I'm able to recall those things and I'm able to say. So that's why I'm saying, as a trainer, it becomes a little difficult, like, to deliver every minute little things. So somewhere as a trainer, I have my limitations, but it's not that I would be skipping things. Okay, so whenever you get stuck, go to the documentation, find out this place where I need to go over there and get it, and you will get your issues. And still, if you are unable to get the issues sorted, WhatsApp group is always available. Post there and we will try to revert with the answers. Okay, let's get back. Now let's understand union and union all. So PySpark union and union all transformations are used to merge two or more data frames, correct? But they should have the same structure and the same schema. Even the SQL also says the same thing. Okay, but here union, okay, so no, in SQL we all know union eliminates the duplicate, but union all keeps all the thing, even the duplicates, right? That's what we need to understand the difference. Okay, when it comes to over here, so union and union all, so it will be showing the both the things. Let me show you with the data. For that, what I have done is I have created two dummy data sets. Okay, so I think like I have shown you drop. So union. So these are the two data sets which I have created. Let me quickly copy this and let me paste this over here. Okay, so what I'll have to do is I'll have to create data frames on top of this for the first one and the second one. Let's do that. So for that, what I will be needing is I will be needing my columns also, right? So let's say this is columns 1, and let me say, so the first name, let's say the column name is employee name, and afterwards is nothing but my department. Then we have, let's say, state, then we have, let's say, salary, then we have, let's say, the age, and then finally we have, let's say, bonus, right? Let me quickly copy this and let me paste this over here, and I'm just creating this as 2, nothing else. And here, or maybe like the two schemas, and let's create my data frame 1. Okay, so spark dot create data frame. Okay, so in the first one we'll try to pass the data and the schema of the first one. So copy or just use it appropriately, simple data 1, okay, and the columns 1. And similarly let's create it, my data frame 2 equals to spark dot create data frame. We'll use the second reference which we have used, that is data 2 and columns 12. Okay, so let's change this and let's change this else. Okay, done. So data frames are created. if you'll just do a show and a print schema, you should be able to see the schema for this which we have defined, and you should be able to see the data in a 2D, that is rows and columns, right? So we should be able to see the structured data. Okay, now let's try to understand the union and union all. Okay, so merge two or more data frames using union. Union method merges two data frames and returns a new data frame with all rows from two data frames regardless of duplicates. That's what I was saying earlier. It does not behave like your SQL. Let's test that. So what I'm trying to say is, let's say this is my union data frame. How will I write? So the first data frame, you'll have to use union, and the second data frame, that is data frame 2, and we'll just try to union data frame, and I'll just try to say show on top of that, and let's execute this.
Sir, you have given both data frames are true.
Where? Okay, let's quickly stop it and let's change this to 1, and thank you so much. Let's re-execute this. So then there the question comes, if both are not removing duplicates, then how I can remove the duplicates? Okay, so that's where like your other transformation functions like distinct, if you want to remove like all the columns, if you want to remove like let's say 2 columns, 3 columns, then the drop duplicates comes into picture. Okay, so if you see like how many rows we have, so we are having all the data. For the first file, this is the data, and for the second file we have this data. Okay, even if I apply union all, it should give us the same result. Okay, so both will give us the same result even if you apply union or union all. So that's where like they will ask you like, if I want to remove something, that's where I'll show how to apply a distinct, and after that I will try to show how to apply drop duplicates. Okay, so it is giving me the same result. Results are not being eradicated. Now if you see sales Mumbai, and this record seems to be identical. Okay, so we don't have Aniket, we don't have Ram, we do have Mitali. So if you see Mitali finance Pune and 90 and something. Okay, so here also and here also. So I assume like these two are the records. Let's see what happens like if we apply a distinct. So simply I'll just comment this out, not needed. Okay, so what we will try to do is, let's say distinct data frame equals to. Okay, so what we will do is, first we'll try to do a union or union all of my first and second data frame, which is nothing but my data frame 1 dot union, and what I recall is union has been deprecated. Okay, so since Spark 2.0, but still it is available, but they are asking us if you want to use it, so you can use union all. Okay, so but still it is available completely, it has not been removed. Okay, but they in somewhere I have read that it has been deprecated. Okay, so the second data frame is nothing but my data frame 2, and here for practice purpose let's keep this union. Both you will have a flavor. Now once you get the data like this, on top of that we can just apply a distinct. My sister's kids are there. Okay, so we are trying to do we are trying to apply a distinct clause on top of it. So we all know it's a row level duplicate which will be removed. So again it is like a costly operation. But again, as of now we are just trying to understand that how we can remove the duplicates if a requirement comes. Later on we will see how to optimize the code and all the necessary optimizations, the internals, joins, etc. As of now we are just trying to understand the transformations. Okay, so if you remember, like if you recall the earlier data set and this data sets, there is a difference in the size or in the row size as it has been removed. Okay, now we are able to remove the row level duplicate, but what if I want to remove the column level duplicate, or I need to do something? Okay, so that's where like things will come into picture, that drop duplicates. Okay, I think I have the data for that also. So It's the same data which I had earlier. The only thing is I have like combined the two data sets and I've created this. Okay. So what we will do is, in the same thing, we'll just try to uncomment this for the time, sorry, comment this, and we'll use the same application. We'll not create a new application. The only thing is we just push the data, then we'll try to define the columns. Okay, based on the columns we'll try to define the column name. Okay, same like so, first is nothing but my employee name, then the second column is nothing but my department, and finally my third column is nothing but my salary. And I'll try to create a data frame out of it, that is nothing but spark dot create data frame. And simply what I'll try to do is I'll try to pass the two parameters or the arguments which it is expecting. Okay, let's pass that, and hopefully if I try to show, it will give me that. Okay, let's do that quickly also. Let's do my data frame dot show, and let's execute this small code. So we all know what we have seen is we have seen how to remove the duplicates using the distinct. Okay, so let it come first. Okay, so it is working fine. So how many rows are there? So 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. Okay, so we in total we have 10 rows. Now let's understand, when I'm trying to apply a distinct, what exactly it is happening. So it should get what we have seen a little earlier, right? So again we'll see that, and we'll try to write some print statement also, and to give us some meaningful suggestions well in the output. So what I'm trying to write, so let's say distinct. Someone is not on mute. Someone needs to ask a question.
Also, there is one curious question.
Yeah.
Is there any count of the rows, like count star or something?
Count?
Count of the rows, how many rows is there in data?
For that, we do not have any variable name. So to count the row means like what is the actual count of the data, we do not have anything like that. We'll have to apply some transformations, like we have like dot count method, right? We'll have to use that.
The aggregate method, correct?
Huh?
Aggregate method, like
Yes, that's what
average.
that's what I'm trying to show now. That's what I'm trying to show. Okay, so I'll come to your question only. Okay, so let's say when I'm trying to apply a distinct, okay, so let's say distinct data frame, the my data frame name, and I'm trying to, let's say I'm trying to apply a distinct. So as the question asks, so we are trying to perform, let's say I'm trying to write a print statement, and let's say okay, so distinct count. Okay, this is my whatever like thing, and here I'll try to use my string format. Okay, before that let me remove this. Okay, what I'm trying to do over here is, what is my data frame name, my data frame, and I'm trying to write here as count. Okay, and as it's the integer value is coming, hence I'm trying to wrap on the top of that using a str, nothing else. And one thing we'll try to do is, let's say distinct distinct, why it is not coming? Okay, there is a typo, that's why it is not coming. That's what I'm saying, why it is not popping it up. Okay, so distinct data frame dot show. Let's execute this piece. And I think I made a mistake. I should have referenced this over here. Let's execute this again. So what I'm trying to do is row level duplicate, and I'm trying to count that. So we'll have to use that. Again, like there are like methods like, okay, so we'll come to this error.
Wrong. You have to replace my by distinct
So my data frame,
distinctdf.com.
okay, I placed it at the right, okay, wrong place. I just, okay, let's re-execute this. So what I was trying to tell a little earlier is count. Okay, so as the question was coming related to count, again Spark provides us like couple of things. Okay, so let's say I don't know what is the actual count of the file. Okay, so I can write for a shell script for that and remove that as a count and pass that into variable and get it. Or else what I can do is there is like one method function that is like monotonically increasing id. Okay, with that also I can like number my columns and finally I can take the count of my last. I can do that also. So there are various methods, but the closest as of now it is looking me. So I can get my row count. Here you can write like distinct row count, or you can just write row. So it is giving me 10 rows. Okay, so in a similar fashion, like whatever like you want to get the count, you can get it. Okay, okay, let's now see how we can write a drop duplicates on some column which will return a new data frame with some duplicates removed on some columns. Okay, let's see. So here I'm trying to write drop duplicates. Okay, okay. So let's say drop data frame equals to. Okay, so what is the data frame name? My original. So that is nothing but my data frame, and I'm just trying to use drop duplicates, nothing else. Okay, so it is using. If now let's understand that. Now same print statement. Let me just quickly copy this, and I'll just change the frame name from here to. Let's copy this and let's paste this and let's execute this. I should have commented this also. It's okay, not an issue. Okay, now if you would say safe, like even my distinct is also giving me the same thing, and my drop duplicate is also giving me the same thing. Yes, it is giving us the same thing, but what I told, distinct will work on all the columns, even drop duplicate will also work on the all the columns, but it gives us the flexibility. It gives us the flexibility to write or to remove distincts on selected columns also. Okay, that's what I'm trying to show it over here. Okay, so let's try to see on some columns. So let's say let's drop on few columns. Okay, so let's say drop duplicate on some column data frame equals to. Okay, now what is my data frame name? So that is nothing but my data frame. So simply what I will say drop duplicates. Okay, and if you want to drop on a single column, multiple column, pass that in a list. So let's say I'm trying to say dpt, and let's say I'm trying to write the salary. So based on two columns I want to drop my duplicates. Okay, and like let's quickly copy this paste. So, and earlier we didn't wanted this, right? I don't want this. I just interested in the counts only. Let's copy this and let's paste this. Okay, and let's execute this. So now if hopefully based on this like department and salary, if I'm getting the same group, okay, hopefully it should like it will drop that duplicate. That's what it is saying. But again, like you need to be very crystal clear because there could be some data loss corresponding to that. Okay, so you need to understand that also. So if you see, this is like with distinct, this is also with drop duplicates, but here it is getting evaluated on all columns. But here if you see distinct count where I'm trying to do on a single column or multiple column based on the requirement. Okay, so that's how you can eradicate your duplicates either using distinct or drop duplicates. Okay, I hope like yeah, I hope like
Sir,
that. Yeah.
why we are converting count into string?
Why we are converting count into string? Because count is like a function. So count is a method function which will give us the value in integer, right?
Mm-hmm.
So here we are having a string, right? So string plus integer in Python. Remember the first error, the exceptional handling I told. We cannot
Mm-hmm.
concatenate my we cannot have as an output like a concatenation of string and integer. That's where the unsupported type error it gives us a little bit earlier. That's why I have converted to a string. And
Okay, but we can.
remember the baseline, everything in Python is a string and the output is as a list, most probably. So that's where
Yes.
like we need to remember.
Okay, so we can provide a formatter, correct?
Yeah, you can see that's what you either you can use dot format, but again that dot format is also a string method, right?
Okay.
Dot format also, if you remember Python,
Yes.
when we
Yes. Yes.
covered like all the data structures like strings, tuples, list, dictionary and sets, so whatever
Mhm.
methods were available, we went a little deep of strings, and the list and tuples, it was just like almost similar. So that's where like
Got it. Got it.
yeah,
Got it.
so even like dot format is a method of data structure as a string. So that's why I'm trying to convert.
There was one format specified, correct? Like for
Not
string
one, there
and
were
it.
three formats specified.
Yes.
One
Yes.
was dot format, then other was one dot sorry percent one, and the third one
Yes.
was prefixing with f.
Yes.
You can use any one of your choice which you are comfortable with.
Okay. Okay.
If you want to format your output, if you remember like in the RDDs, we have done that the last week, like when we were trying to see the use case, we have formatted the data also. Somewhere we have formatted the data, like when we were trying to do the date stuff, I remember that. So if you see here, we were trying to do format.
Okay.
Okay. See, that's what. See, I am trying to show you all the possible ways how you write the code and how it becomes comfortable zone. It depends on you how you practice. I am trying to show all the possible ways we can write the code, and rest we become accustomed to only one syntax, and day in day out we write the same syntaxes.
Yep. Get it.
Okay. I hope like these like basic things like hopefully we are getting, because syntax wise you will get issues, otherwise you know all these concepts. That's what my understanding is. Any questions?
No, sir.
No questions, okay. If no questions, then let's make a move. Let's come to the question of Saurabh again. Okay, how to write the switch statements, like if else, like case when statements. We'll try to understand that. Okay, let's go over here. So let's try to understand case when others dot py. Okay, so before copying the data frame, let me quickly copy this statement as is, so that we don't need to retype that again. So case when others. Okay, so let's copy the cooked data for us and paste this over here. Okay, and let's create a data frame out of it. Okay, so we have like f name, that is nothing but your first name. Then we have middle name. Okay, then we have last name. Okay, afterwards, okay, so remove this first name, middle name, last name. Okay, so what is that? 36. That is some weird number. Okay, so let's give that as, let's say, let's give that uh, let's give that as, let's say, some code, whatever the code number it is. Okay, after that let's give some, let's say, gender, and finally we'll have column called as sal. Okay, so these are the few things which has been given to us, and let's try to see how we can create some scenarios or understand like case when statements out of this. I'll create a data frame out of it. So that is my data frame using spark dot create data frame, data and columns. See, now here I'm trying to use data and columns, but here you'll have to use struct type. I'm just going with a shortcut method. The reason to is like saving some time. Okay, but you'll have to define the schema explicitly. using struct type. Okay, and you know how to define the struct type. Struct type parenthesis, in that we'll have a list of array. So again we'll have individual struct field with their column names, type, and the nullability. So you'll have to define with that way. But again, for practice purpose, again this gives a like quicker method to create the data frame. Okay. Okay, so we got this, and hopefully, because we have tested this many times in like 2-3 programs earlier, so this will work fine, which we know. Good, that is okay. Now we'll try to test some statements using when, else, others, and let's understand how. Okay, now when is a PySpark SQL function. Okay, so it is used. Okay, so for that we need to import something. Okay, so when this is coming, I need to have something. When this is coming, I need to have something. We can do those kind of things over here, same like your case statement. But whenever we do that, for that we need to import. Okay, so many. So let's remove this, and let's say I want to import this when, because when we'll be needing. I have imported that. Now let's start doing this. So let's comment this, and I'm trying to show you a when example. Okay, okay, so let's say when data frame equals to, so the earlier data frame is nothing but my data frame. Okay, and here now understand, now whatever learnings which I have taken, I will be implementing in this and going forward. So now in this my data frame, I have all these columns, right? Now what I am trying to do, from this I can select few columns. I can do that. If I want to add, or if I want to apply some transformations or logic or some statements and get it converted to new column, I can do that, or I can convert it to the existing column. So for that we have with column. We have just seen a little while back earlier. So let's say there is a new column which is getting generated, and that is nothing but new gender. Okay, so what I have done is I have created one. Okay, so now what I'm trying to write is I'm trying to write some small statements. Okay, so we didn't see the output, right? Okay, so we have like here M. So we have, okay, M and F we have. Okay, chalo. So we'll try to write something. Okay, so what we'll try to write, when, as we are trying to see the example of when. Okay, I'm trying to use the syntax. So when my column, what is that column name? That column name is nothing but my gender. So when my column of gender equals to, let's say, male, at that moment of time, what I need to have, that you need to define it over here. As of now, let's say I just need to expand it. So let's say I need to tell it that this is a, let's say, male. Okay, then let's, I think that let's drop it in a new column. When, same thing I'll try to write for female. So when my column, and that is nothing but my gender, if it falls to female, okay, I'll just write a female. And here, as of now, I'm just trying to show some strings, but you can do some calculations also, maybe like a little down. Let's see. Okay, okay, so when this is this, happen this. When this is this, sorry, when this is this, happen this. When this is this, when happen this. What if this is not that? So we will say else part, remember. So here we need to say otherwise. Okay, and simply I will say unknown, nothing else. Okay, so what I have written, I have just written a small syntax for case when statement. So I'm trying to create a new column. In that, I'm trying to evaluate some columns with some conditions. If this is meeting this criteria, give me this value. If it is meeting this criteria, give me this value, else give me this. That's what they are trying to say to us, and we will also try to say, please show me that. Let's execute this. Okay, so if you see, we are getting a new column. That is nothing but we have already seen a while back earlier. Okay, so new gender, and whenever it was coming as per the scenario, it has converted to something. Okay, so that's where like your case when statement will come. Okay, again, like to write this case when others, there are so many way or so many style of writing. Okay, I'll not fall into those because I don't want to confuse you. How you can write, you can follow as it's like it's just a straightforward mechanism which is there. Let's use it. But again, like the same syntax, I can use like again like a little while earlier Hussein said like we can select few columns. See now what I've done over here. By default in this data frame, I'm getting all the columns, right? But I don't want all the columns. I just want only few columns. Let's say I'm getting these all columns, but I don't want all these columns. I just want, let's say, first name, and then I want gender, and then I want new gender. So what you will do in that case, from this data frame, you will first write select clause and just write 3 columns, and after that you will write this logic. Or else, even after doing this, here also what you can do is, here also you can just write select. I just want 3 columns, that is f name, okay, not f name, middle name. So what I was telling, f name, and I was telling gender, and I was telling new gender. Okay, let's re-execute this. So it's just like how you write the code and how your practice becomes, and it means like the code, it should not happen the code is looking like this, the code is looking like that. It's based on the syntaxes and the code style you are trying to write. Okay, it will all be dependent on the requirement and what you are trying to achieve, and finally how you are showcasing it. Okay, so that's where I can do the same thing like using select also. Here I could have written this select clause, here I would have fixed it, and then I would have written. It's your wish how you want to write. Okay, or here, so here if I have written, so from this my data frame, after this, let's say I want all the columns. Again you can write select all the columns, but that is not required. Why? Because this data frame is already containing the entire columns only. Why you are writing it again and again? But yes, we can do that. That's what I wanted to show. Okay, so here you can write this over here, or you can write this over here. It's your call how you write your logics, or how you achieve the code and get the requirement. I'm just trying to show possible scenarios what you would be getting, and you will have to twist your code to get certain requirements output. Okay, now okay, so we just saw one flavor like how we can use when. Okay, now there is one more other method, like the same things can be achieved in writing in a different way. Okay, how? I'll show you that now. Okay, so this was same code. So let me remove this. I think you know this. So this is like first method, like, and now let's go with the second method, where I will try to use like when statement, but this when others, like I have written like in multiple. So there I will try to write in some under some expressions. Let's see how. Okay, so let's say this is when data frame 1, and let's say this is when data frame 1. Okay, so let's say when data frame 2, same syntax but in another style, how we can write it. Okay, so what was the data frame name? My data frame, and I'm trying to use with column. Okay, so what is the new column which I was trying to derive? That was nothing but my new gender, right? I was trying to derive this new column. Okay, and let's, here I was trying to write the logic, right? Now here what I will try to do, so everything this is there now, so I'll try to embed that into an expression. I can do that also. Okay, so how? For that we'll have to import that expr. Now you will be asking me what is the difference between this statement and that statement. So when we try to write expr, that is nothing but expression. Okay, it gives us the flexibility to write the statements in case when like SQL ways, and to perform some calculations also, where arithmetic calculations comes into picture. Okay, but here it will not be available to you. So let's do that. So what I'll have to do, simply I'll just have to write expr, and inside that I'll have to wrap it up. Okay, so what I'm trying to write, I'm just trying to write, let's say, same thing whatever I have written, because in the earlier thing I did not write case statement, but here I'm trying to write everything. So that's where like case when. So let me just write, this is using the both things, so that is case when. Okay, so in the expression, so I'm trying to write. Okay, so let's write. So what I'm trying to write in double quotes, okay, so case statement, when I'm trying to write case when gender, so when gender equals to, so that was nothing but first one was male, right? So gender male, okay. So when we have gender, then what we need to write, so we need to write as male. I hope like you will be accustomed to these kind of syntaxes, okay. If you want to make this as a string and jump into the second line, what you can do is simply what you can write is concatenation symbol, and you can jump to the second line, and again you can write the same case statement, sorry, using your when statement, and you can build it up, okay. If you want to do that way, you can do that way, or else what I will do, first I'll show you in one statement, then I'll show you multiple things like how I'm trying to play with it, okay. Wow, it is good. Okay, so let's come over here. Okay, so first thing what I have written, case statement when gender m it is giving me, give me male, okay. Then again I'm trying to write when, so when gender equals to equals to, sorry, equals to female, okay. Then what I want, so let's say I want something, okay, I'm getting this, okay. If it is done, then finally I just need to write else, and here we write just unknown, and finally you need to end this clause like how you do in your respective SQL stuff in a similar fashion. There's no, so when data frame 2 dot show, okay, we have commented the earlier one, so we should get the result of,
Sir, when gender is equal to m, you need
Equal
to
to double equal to.
okay, okay.
comparison
Let me
operator.
stop this quickly and let's this, okay, and let's execute this piece. Okay, so if you see I'm able to get the same data, so it's only the style of writing, like how you are writing and how the code is written, it's your call, okay. I can, as I told you, these are strings, I can jump this into multiple lines also. So okay, what I'll have to do is simply after this I'll have to close this plus symbol and take that down, and again like open plus, so you can experiment that and you will come to know, okay. So case when you can write like this, and again like there are some like logical operators. So let's say I want to use some logical operators like and, okay, or, we all know, so we can do that, okay. So let's say or and data frame, I know the data frame name is nothing but my data frame, and I'm just trying to apply a with column on top of that, okay. The new column which I'm trying to derive is nothing but new gender, okay. And here you can write the same thing what we were writing a little while earlier, but I can write like multiple statements, in the sense like if I want to build multiple statements I can do that, okay. So let's say when column, that is nothing but when column gender, okay, when column gender equals to, let's say male, that should be capital, okay. And let's come outside, and you can use your pipe symbol as an or operator, okay. And let's say call, and let's say gender, that should come in double quotes, gender, okay. So column, that is nothing but my gender, which is equals to female, okay. So if these things are, and I need to wrap this, so this will wrap inside this will also, I think this is getting wrapped, so this is closing over here and this is closing over here, okay, that looks good. And I'll have to give one more because that will give me, okay. So let's say I'm trying to, let's say available, anything what I can write, so it's just like few things just to show the syntax, okay. This is like one thing, let me close this, and dot otherwise, and finally when there it is not, means like there is one blank which I have purposely kept, and we will write like not available. Okay, and simply what we'll try to do is we'll try to say or and data frame, and we'll just preview the data. Okay, so now here we are just trying to apply a logical or, okay, which means that any of my condition is meeting, so we should get that result. Okay, so it just writes syntax framing things which I'm trying to show, rest all the concepts which you know. If you want to apply and, simply you need to replace this with double ampersand, a single ampersand over here. Now this will be a very hard statement. Why? Because no row will have the same column as male and gender. Okay, so hopefully, like, let's understand. Okay, so there will be no row like we'll be having male and gender, sorry, gender as male and female on the same row. That's why I'm getting as not available. Okay, it purely depends like how you write and how you frame your code. Okay, so here I'm just trying to make you aware of the stuff which needs to be written. Any questions in this case when statement, how to frame your syntaxes and how to achieve or how to write your logic or code when the assignments will be given on these syntaxes? Are we able to understand?
Sir, can we use and instead of the ampersand, or is it?
I think that does not support because I have not used, yeah, it does not give a character representation. That's why it's not able to recognize that. That's why we need to use the ampersand and the pipe symbol for or on the and stuff.
Oh,
Okay, so hopefully whatever we have taken, okay, so today, so hopefully you know that you knew that most probably everything. The only thing is I have just shown how to write those syntaxes in PySpark way. That is where my introductions are coming to these transformation functions. Are we good till here?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, cool. Thanks. So now we'll try to understand the different types of functions also. Okay. We'll try to understand the different types of functions. There will be string functions, there will be date functions. Let's try to understand that. Okay. So data frame dot functions dot py. Okay, I'm just copying pasting this code and the Spark session also as a driver program. Okay, just to save a time. So things will be ready for me and I will start writing the creating the data frame and whatever like I want to apply, I would be applying. Okay. Okay. So let's copy the cooked data which is available for some functions. Okay, so let me copy this and let me paste this over here. Okay, so the data is available. Let's create some columns on top of that. Okay, so the first column as name we have seen like it is f name, then we have medal name, then finally we have last name. So 2018 seems to be some year, let's say year as a column. Okay, after that M seems to be as a gender, and finally some amount looks like to be a salary. Okay, so let's create a data frame out of it with Spark as a variable and with a create data frame method. We'll pass two things which is asking. So one is like data and the other is schema. So let's pass my data and the other is nothing but columns, okay, which will be considered to be as my schema. Okay, we have tested this multiple times, so hopefully it should work here also. Okay, that is what my understanding is. Okay, now there will be so many scenarios where you will be asked few things in interviews. Okay, so let's say I am giving you this scenario, how will you achieve this? I'll giving you this scenario, how will you achieve? So at that moment of time you will have to think which transformation should I apply, what functions should I apply. Will it be string functions, will it be date functions, will it be Python's data structures, will it be loops, or will it be like low level APIs which are coming from RDDs? So at that moment of time you will have to think and then you will have to answer. That's where like all the things we are trying to see over here step by step and slowly. Okay. Okay, so now we all know the scenarios, like, okay, so now if you see, this is my first name, middle and name and last name. I need to concatenate this. We all know, like, small simple. So we have like, sorry. Okay, so what we are trying to do is, the scenario is, let's say I want to make this as a single column by doing concatenation of this string. Okay, there are a couple of approaches which are being given to us. One is the concatenate and the other is concat underscore ws, that is with separator. We'll see both the syntaxes, how we can write. Okay, first we'll try to understand with the first one. Okay, so let's say concat data frame equals to, okay, so how the syntax will go is, so what is the data frame name? My data frame. From this I'm trying to select. Okay, now here what you can do is, you can write select, like, let's say all the columns. It means all the columns will come, or you can select specific columns also. Okay, it's your call. So let's say the first column name is nothing but my f name. Okay, what I'm trying to do is, the first name should be concatenated with a hyphen symbol with middle name, and that should be concatenated with a hyphen with last name. Okay, for that we need to provide a literal. And what is that literal? That literal is nothing but hyphen, or let's give comma over here, and in concat ws we'll use hyphen. Okay, this is done. First name is done. Let's write middle name. Sorry, middle name. Again, lit. Okay, what is the separator? Hyphen, sorry, comma. And finally, what is the column name? That is nothing but your L name. Okay, it looks, because what if like 60-70 columns are there, it will be a tedious job for you, right? But again, like, people who knows Excel, what we do is, if this like repetitive task and like tedious task comes, we go to Excel, we write some like functions, not functions, we would say some like what do you say in Excel? So we write some
Statement.
statements and like some logics we write. We create that formula and we just do a double click and that statement is ready for us. So we copy paste and we paste it here. That's how the development goes. In between, it's not that always we try to switch into Notepad sometimes, Notepad plus plus. We try to switch to some Excel. That's how it goes. Okay, let's not go into that. So concat data frame dot show. So I keep deviating. Let's execute this. Okay, so it's like a very simple and a generic statement where I'm trying to use my literal, okay, and I'm trying to concatenate. It is telling me not defined. Thank you so much. So what I need to do is simply I need to just import it, and this is coming from PySpark.sql.functions only. Let's re-execute, because mostly we do not use this concat underscore ws. That's what we generally use. Okay,
So
but sorry, yeah.
we are not uh, we are not concatenating here. The relate is taking as the column name.
Right. So I have not written the syntax appropriately. So if you see, the issue is like, we can see the data and I have not done it appropriately. Let me do that, because I have not this is like as an entire string which rightly picked by Hussein. So we have not applied a concat on top of this, right? So we need to apply a concat on top of this. So let's apply a concat and let's close this. And again, we'll have to import this also, otherwise again it will throw us an error. Okay, let's but see the output, how it is coming. It is concatenating as everything as a string, where when I didn't used it, now I'm trying to use concat. So this is like a first very simple one. Okay, so generally we do not use this. Let the output come. Okay, and if you want to aliases, you can alias also. The reason why I'm seeing is because the output looks to a little bigger. If you see, it is like such a big long name it is coming. Okay, so what I can do is simply I would say is let's say dot you can write dot alias also, right? You will be able to do that, right? So it's just simply write dot alias and you should be able to do that. Okay, so I'm leaving that as of now. Now let's understand the second method, which is like a convenient method for us, okay, which we generally follow. That is nothing but concat underscore ws. Okay, So let's see how we can write. So concat ws data frame. Okay, so the same thing I'll try to use my data frame, and I'm trying to write the select clause. Okay, so earlier I missed this. So before that, what I'll have to do is I'll have to import that concat underscore ws. So let's use that concat underscore with separator. Okay, now what it takes is, it's pretty straightforward. It takes like what is the separator which you need, sorry, what is the separator you need to apply. That is nothing but I need to separate that with a with separator is like hyphen, and you just need to specify the column names over here. Okay, so let's say call of my first name is there, right? Let's come over here, then we will just write, we just need to pass the column names. That's it, the work is done. We don't need to be like doing the same literal again and again and again. Okay, and finally we'll just try to say concat with separator and show the result to us. Let's execute this piece. Okay, so there is some ambiguity of column names, it seems to be. So what it is telling is cannot resolve f name. Okay, so there is like typo error. Okay, so let's re-execute this. So first name, middle name, and last name. Check it. Okay, so if you see, we are able to get the same result. Okay, earlier we were able to get with this also, and we are able to get with this also. Depends like how you are using and what you are using. Okay, it will be dependent on that. Okay, any questions till here? Yes, no?
No, sir.
No questions? Okay, so what I'll do is I'll stop this recording over here. So we'll continue the functions from tomorrow, the remaining functions, and in this